Hi everyone, in today's session let us basically try to understand what exactly or how important color is in its association with the Feng Shui Bagua map. As we guys learned in the previous sessions, as per Feng Shui there are three foundational concepts that depend on for any space to be harmonized. One is your Bagua map, one is your elements, and the other one is basically your yin and yang energy. In today's session, while we talk about the color aspect, we basically focus on two elements. One is the five elements of nature that is associated, and the second that we look into is the zones, or that is basically the division on the Bagua map. So the first thing that we'll cover is the divisions on the Bagua map. So there are basically 8 zones that can be classified on a Bagua map. That is the primary directions being north, south, east and west, and your secondary directions being northeast, southeast, southwest and northwest, together forming 8 zones on the Bagua map spread across 360-degree angular directions. Now, the same 360-degree angular directions of a space will have 5 elements that are associated with each of these zones on this Bagua map. So before I tell you that, let me quickly tell you what are the 5 elements. So the 5 elements can be classified as fire, earth, metal, water and wood. And each of these have their own associations with color, and each of them have their own impact when applied. Okay, but not to get into the application process, we're just going to clearly stick into understanding which zone is associated to what and where can these be applied and what are the best zones that can be placed in. Okay, so the first one that I want to talk about is the color yellow. So as per the 5 elements of Feng Shui theory, yellow is one of the colors that is associated, and this yellow, when you look into it, is basically associated with the earth element. And color yellow represents things like sunny, nourishing, bright, happy, cheerful. Also, yellow is also associated with the color of one of the colors of the flame that you get when you burn fire. So Feng Shui color yellow can be associated with two elements, either fire or earth element. Okay. Yellow is also excellent color if you want to brighten up a space. So for example, if you want to create a dominant wall or a bright wall or something that is going to give you a contrast to the other walls, yellow can be used. The different shades of yellow can be used. There are different tones that can be used, but make sure you make the best out of it. Even for those who associate yellow with intellect and enlightenment, and who feel that this color stimulates both brain activities and also helps digestion, you can use this for your dining area spaces if in case these spaces fall in the zones that are associated with them. Please be mindful of that. So some of the areas commonly that you can use are in the hallways, are in the kitchens, but please make sure you don't use this in the bathrooms or your meditation rooms. Again, subjected to terms and conditions that these are aligned with the zonal attributes and these activities are associated to the same zones then. But this is just a common terminology I'm giving you all, like a common understanding of where these can be used based on the activity mapping and stuff like that. So yeah, that is about the color yellow. The next color that we have is the color red. So basically red, it can be told as the strongest color that we have as per Feng Shui, because this is something that really triggers you, that stimulates you and makes it a little more dominant in energy in nature. So this color can basically help you get a huge amount of adrenaline running. It can be associated with the color or the color of fire, one of the colors as well. It can help you bring zest. It can help you get a driving force to build upon something. So these are some of the qualities that you can get with red. Other associated things with red are fear. Okay, you can also feel a little bit of too much agitation you can get because of the color. You can become very hyper. But for those of them who want to overcome elements like psychological elements like fear or inertia or just melancholy, you can definitely go about using this color in your space to bring about positive aspects of it. I would recommend that you don't overdo this, but this is something that you can do. Alright, and another element that you can see in the color red is associated with the color of love, and in Chinese culture it is associated with the attribute of luck and happiness as well. And this is something that is helped or told to bring about passion into anything that you do. So red can be used in these areas as well. And if you see or find any person who's a procrastinator or very lazy and you want to help them improve their mood or just get about doing things, you can definitely incorporate red into their space to give them that activation of energy, or bring about that psychological change for them and use it in their space. Of course, red is something that you can use in the kitchen because this is associated with the elemental color, that is basically fire, as this can be used in the fire element as well. Okay, and the next color that we have is basically talking about green. Now, green basically deals completely with freshness. So, what green is when you go into nature, most of the things that you see are colorful, like you guys know. But most of the things you also see are green. Green plants, the grass is green. There's so many elements that are associated with green, and that is further associated with nature in general. So any place where you want to bring in freshness, where you want to remove the laziness, you want to bring in energy, not like heavy, passionate energy, but just a calm, soothing energy, but fresh energy into a space, a sense of regeneration into a space, greens can be used. Green basically helps in getting the sense of balance, a sense of freedom, hope, harmony, healing. All of these associated with the color green, so you can go about doing that. Most of the times, if you want to go about designing therapy rooms, you can use green as a color, but make sure you see which shade or tone of green that you're using, so it doesn't become too flamboyant or it doesn't become too prominent. It has to be something that is getting set with the entire setting of the space. Green color is also something that is associated with your health, and this helps in bringing a lot of healing energy. Especially, the reason why I'm telling this over is for those of you who are going through an emotional turmoil, or you feel that you need an assistance to uplift yourself, not basically physically but emotionally or mentally and such. You can go about using green in your spaces. Green, basically, one of the negatives of green is that it kind of shows deceit, because this is something that helps you cover up or camouflage something. So deceit is some of the negative qualities that can be seen in green, but majority it can be considered as a good color. And when you talk about green, you can basically use different shades in order to maximize the energies and harmonizing of the space, but be very, very sure and picky of which color or which shade or which tone or whatever of green that you're actually using. Now, the color of green is associated with the wood element in the 5 elements of nature. Okay. The next color that we have is the orange color. Now, orange is a very social color. Orange can be classified as, a fire element, because again, this is one of the colors that can be seen in a flame, and is also the second best option after red if you really want to get in some energy into your space. It creates a kind of sense for people to bring in good conversations and make the entire space lively. So if you want to go about decorating any of your spaces, for example, like your living room or your dining area where you feel there's a lot of social gathering, or a need to entertain people for anything at all, like your guests, one of the best places that can be used is in the living room and dining space. Kitchen, of course, is also the best, because this helps align itself with the elemental property of fire, so you can go about doing that. Again, like I said, orange is a very happy, a very social color, so this is best to be used while doing networking or socialization on a general note. But yeah, align it and make sure the only thing is that align it with the elemental attributes. Don't place it in any opposing element, because it might bring out negative aspects. But like I said, best kept in the fire element, and you can look into the attributes associated with it, and also go about placing or zoning spaces according to that. The next color that we have is white. Now, white color, when you talk about it, it basically represents a lot of purity, plainness, a sense of fresh beginnings or new beginnings, and a lot of innocence. So the white color basically deals with the element of metal. Okay, so the qualities of white can be cleanliness, freshness, and white is something that can go with any color. Anything it can be paired with and it will be fine. Okay, so white basically has a good association with other colors, and this can bring out effects where you can kind of create and play around with the space a little more in terms of colors. But one of the negative things that you can see in the color white is that it's very cold, it's very pale, and it looks very lifeless if just used only white. You need to add a color, you need to add different, like a mush of colors everywhere in a space to bring that lifeless into the space. So you can look into that. This is definitely into a design perspective, but when you look into understanding white as a color, it is a neutral color. But yes, as per Feng Shui, one of the best spaces to have it is in the metal element zone, which aligns with the elemental properties. Okay. For those of them who want healing spaces, you can choose white, because this is again helps in, it basically represents transformation. Even though in that case, when you have a white colored walls or white color in a room of a therapy room or a healing space, it is slow, but it is very steady and progressive. So that is why we call it as a transformative color. The next color that we have is basically the color blue. Now blue, when you know, can be associated with the terminology of water, because water is very close enough to blue, and water represents fluidity. So for those of them who want to have peace, tranquility, not just peace, but who want to experience a lot of calmness, a lot of peace, tranquility, all of these areas best, or any zone that you want to keep, like your meditation spaces, your not just meditation spaces, if you want to keep a water body, all of these areas can be kept in your water element. And the best place to have your blue color is associated in whichever zone is associated to water in the Feng Shui map or the Bagua map. So like I said, blue basically deals with spirituality, it deals with fluidity, it deals with patience, it sometimes does deal with contemplation, but it also kind of gives you a sense of gentleness, a sense of a very calm yet subtle, but a very impressive color, if you really want to put it in that way. This gives you a sense of peace. So for those of you, for example, to give you a very design example, if you go near a water body, or if you have an aquarium in your place or a water, like a koi pond or something, and you just go sit there, most of the times you feel very calm, because the color itself is so calming. It helps you reduce either the emotional pain, the mental pain. It gives you a sense of distraction, yet a sense of calm. So for these areas, you can go about using blue. Even if you think that you have a lot of aggression as a person itself and you want to get yourself a lot of calmness, you can use blue in your rooms to bring you that sense of calmness into your lives. But again, blue is an exact opposite of red, because blue is associated with water element and red is associated with fire. Make sure the water element does not sit in any of the fire element zones, because they're anti-elements. This might cause bad or negative repercussions. But apart from that, you can go about making it you're using it in any part of your house. So if you want to place it in the east, you can do that. If you want to place it in the north, you can do that. If you want to place it in the northeast, you can go about doing that. Some of the best zones to keep your water elements, or blue color in general. Okay, and again, like I said, some of the places that you can, on a general note, use is meditation rooms, bedrooms. If you want to, use it in places of spirituality, like, those pyramid constructions where you sit and meditate, those places are fine. All of those you can go about using blue. The next color that we have is grey. Now grey is something that I personally wouldn't recommend unless and until you want to have a space feel detachable. So like the whole theory behind grey is that you want to, it's a neutral color, it's not too engaging, it's not too depressing. It kind of gives you a clear state, it helps you create a sense of detachment when you enter the space. Okay, and of course, even though you do have the space which can bring a lot of good aspects into it, it is best to keep this either in a place where you want a space to be boring and you don't want too much interaction with the users into the space, or you can use it in a space where you don't want people to react to it. So for example, and this is a very rough example, if you go into hospital areas, most of the rooms are either whites or grays, because these are the places where people, behaviorally or emotionally do not interact or they're not that much exposed, or they do not interact with the colors. They're much calmer, they're much composed. So gray can be used in those places. Even if you want to make a place look sophisticated in a residential setup, you can use it. You can use it in a living room or a dining room. But again, this is for a sophisticated outlook. If you're looking for having family dinners or good get-togethers and networking, this becomes a very subtle color and not much scope for, even emotionally also, it doesn't give you a lot of that much energy to actually go about creating interactions within the space. So you can limit yourself for living rooms and dining rooms areas in the space. But yeah, the next thing that we have is purple color. Now one of the first things I would actually like to say is, when you see a lot of examples like royal palaces or any royal spaces, the color associated with it is purple. And purple, when you actually get into detail, is associated with a fire element. Okay, and this basically, the color purple represents royalty, nobleness, mysteriousness. and this brings a sense of luxury and grandeur. So people who feel that they want to look in a dignified manner, who want to look impressive, who want to look stood out in the society or just in terms of interior, this can be used. It's very very important that we note that purple must be used in moderation, and you cannot, don't try like for example, if you have a room with four walls, try only using one wall with purple, and probably you can utilize the other part with either white or any lighter colors, but please do limit the use of purple in any space. The next thing that I want to add is purple itself is a very high vibration color. So even if you don't want to use it to the walls, you can use it just in terms of decoration elements, like your just having your throws in purples or some rugs in purple. Just make it a very minimal or moderation used color than a very hyper or hyperly used or more used color in any space, because this is a color that is associated with excitement, passion, motivation, royalness. It just has a huge vibration itself for the color. So that is the reason why. Negatives of this, that is, this can make you very moody, and this can also get a sense of mourning or like a mourningful or sadness sometimes, so best to be avoided. This also, purple is also associated with spirituality and a sense of detachment. So again, this is something that you can look into while designing spaces. If you're really wanting, like I said, to look into spaces being designed with purple, other than using different shades of it, you can go into a lighter shades like your lavenders or your lilacs. Again, you can see which is the best way to use it and go about placing them in your spaces. The next color that we have is your pink color. Pink, like you all know, is associated with love. It's associated with more gentleness, a more soothing, a more loving environment. But yes, since it is a more warmer color, we associate this color with fire element. So this can be placed anywhere in the fire element area. Another place where pink can be kept is in your southwest zone, because southwest deals with love and relationships in general. So you can go about placing it in that space. So the reason why I say it's best, because pink is a color of like the universal color of love, and if you're trying to bring in energies of that, we can go about placing pink. And if you actually see, which is covered in a different video of us in Feng Shui, one of the items that we keep in the southwest corner to increase the compatibility and to increase the bondness between any two couple, we place a pink crystal or a rose crystal. This is associated with love, and rose is basically the color pink. So that is the reason why we associate these to the same. Pink does not really have any negative connotations, mostly positive, which basically talk about happiness and romance. So best this can be either placed in the southwest that deals with love and relationship segment, or anywhere in the fire element to make the most out of it. Okay. The next color that we have is black. Now before I actually get into the Feng Shui thing, I really would recommend you people to use black in moderation, because black is a very strong color. It can make any space look dull, very dark very soon. But yes, it does have its own positive and negatives of having it in a space in a design perspective. But when you learn black in detail, you'll be able to understand black is also, the negative connotation of it deals with death, darkness and evil, and it also deals with a spirituality level where it talk about inner self, or just finding out things about the inner world. And this also basically talks about a sense of unknownness, because it is dark, right? When you enter, for example, if you have an entire room that is just black, when you enter it, there's no light to see or move around and understand the space. So please, again, with a best example, other than aligning it with the elemental zone, make sure you make the least minimal use of black, but you can go about using black in a space. When you really want to use black in a space, I would recommend you to use it as an independent color for any one of the walls if you have four walls in a space. And if you add and use this in a space where you want to bring about depth and a sense of strength, okay? But again, the black color, when you're using it, make sure you please align and look into it to the design psychology behind it to make sure it doesn't affect the end users of the space. The last color that we have is the brown color. Now brown, as you guys know, is basically associated with the trunks of the trees or the wood color. So we associate it with the wood element. And the whole concept of the color brown deals with stability, grounding, a sense of strength, okay? And when we talk about this, the positive of this is that safety. It brings a sense of nature, a sense of belongivity somewhere. Okay, and the negative of this is that brown is a very dull color, a very depressing color, and a very aging color. So again, brown on a design psychology and a design perspective, use it in moderation, and you can use this in spaces where you feel that you want the space to look more nourishing, a more enriching space. So you can use various shades or colors of brown for your space depending on the usage of it and the requirements of the client. You can either be it make it dark chocolate, or you can just make it like a mahogany wood. You can use natural wood elements only into the space to help you out with the design elements. So these are some of the things. Now that you have been able to cover the 8 colors that is associated in the Bagua map, let us try to understand how can you place it in a space. Now you will be able to see a particular map over here, that how each color is associated with each zone, and this zone when incorporated into a space can help you understand which is the best layout either for one particular zone or for an entire house. Here when you see over here, you can see we have a bedroom area that is designed as per Feng Shui. You can see in how exactly the 8 zones are placed as per Feng Shui, and what and how the orientation of furniture is done. This is very quick example, and this is something you can literally read it out from the diagram, so I'm not going to go detail into that, but this is how you go about incorporating these into your spaces. So saying that, I hope I gave you a clear idea of understanding of colors as per Feng Shui, and which are the zones or places that you can associate these colors to make the best use out of it. Thank you.